This is Smarter San Diego TV.
Is that listing agent representing any of those offers? Because that changes the makeup of the situation.
He looked at me and said, would you rather have it be hard with the boys for 7 months or be gone from the boys for 7 months?
Del Mar was like, it was Del Mar. Like if you could live in Del Mar, and I live in Del Mar now.
Sure. Here's your kitchen, here's your bathroom. This is walnut flooring. These are, Calcutta marble countertops.
Got all these crazy parents dancing everywhere with their kids, and by the time it's over, they're screaming for more.
Our next guest is joining us for the first time. Please put your hands together for Century 21 Realtor, Steve Ploetz.
There he is, Steve Ploetz. What's up, my friend? How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, great to have you. Hey, this is something that I think a lot of people believe to be true, and I don't know if it's true or not, but if you're a home buyer, you're driving around, maybe you're going to open houses, you picked up the paper, you're driving around looking at open houses. I think a lot of people believe that the smart thing to do, if you're a buyer, especially in a competitive market like we're in right now, is to reach out to the listing agent and try to gain favor with them and say, hey, if you were my agent, would that help me get this property? And so I think this is an important topic to cover in this type of market, especially where the buyers are empowered, they have access, they can see what homes are for sale, they can drive around and look at them. If you were a buyer in this market, does it make sense to call the listing agent on a home that you're interested in?
I think it's a great question. I don't think that there is a 100% either way, yes or no. I think that what's interesting about the market right now, and particularly when it's a question that I hear often, there is the perception that if, as a buyer, you call the listing agent, that you're getting a good deal. I would say that's most of the time is not accurate. A very simple example would be if you were to ask 100 real estate agents and say, hey, here's the deal. You are in escrow, dual agent, you're representing buyer and seller, and the transaction is going sour and you're going to lose one of those clients. Probably 100 of them say, lose the buyer, stay with the listing. The power is with the seller. And so that kind of shows you up front that the fiduciary responsibility is not split 50-50, that the agent, as much as they're agreeing to in writing to have both parties' interests in mind, it's very, very challenging to do.
Hey, how do you do that? How is that even possible? A dual agency is a whole other bottle.
Without a doubt. I hate to think of buyer and seller as oppositional because they're not against each other, or they shouldn't be against each other, but there are negotiations that come up all the time where you need an advocate, whether you're the seller or the buyer, and there's pros and cons to an agent being on both sides of it. As I mentioned, they simply cannot have your 100% fiduciary interest in mind. However, there is more money in the transaction. Most agents, if a typical listing is a 6% listing, some agents will do a variable commission where they will reduce the commission by a percentage point, so now it becomes a 5% listing or something along those lines. So in competitive situations, that can help an offer get won. It's important to know the legal side of it, which is the listing agent is not allowed to give what the offers are at, if it's a multiple offer situation, to any of the buyers, including their own buyer. That information cannot be disclosed. They're allowed to disclose, they're required to disclose the existence of the offers, but also if they are representing any of those buyers. So I think that it ends up in a spot where the balance becomes very tricky. Sometimes the benefit of dual agency is that the agent, if there is more money and buyer is holding firm on a certain dollar amount or a roof repair or all the different negotiations that go into the transaction, and the seller is also unwilling to budge, that sometimes an agent can say, hey, you know what, there's enough money here, we can make it happen I can reduce the commission or give a credit to the buyer or whatever it may be. That would be the benefit. I guess the advice that I would give, the takeaway is, as a buyer, find out, number one, is there the existence of other offers? Are there other offers on the table? Whether you are appealing to the listing agent and asking them to represent you, or you have your own buyer's agent. And then also find out, is that listing agent representing any of those offers? Because that changes the makeup of the situation. And again, agents are not allowed to disclose those offer prices, but when the average real estate agent is doing 1 to 2 deals, does it happen? Unfortunately, it does. And so now the liability of that is obscene. I mean, and I would say that any mistake that is made by the listing agent, no matter how, or the dual agent, no matter how innocent, can be seen as them favoring one party or another. I have a client that just sold a house in Minnesota and has moved out here and purchased up in North County. And their house that they sold in Minnesota, they have an agent that is representing them as the seller and the buyer, and they affectionately refer to her as their double agent, which is just because it's impossible that she can have both parties' interests in mind. And so they've actually said that in every contract that they do moving forward, that they'll never allow dual agency.
But in this market, this is the big question. In this market, is it worth the risk? Because it's so hard for buyers to get into these places. If I'm a buyer and I see a house and I'm like, this is perfect, the neighborhood we want, the setup we want, the layout we want, we love it. Is it worth the risk to go and try to appeal that listing agent?
It is a great question, and I'm not going to dodge it. And it depends. because here's the thing. Residential real estate is bought and sold on emotion. People buy homes primarily as their primary residence, and they buy it based on things like neighborhoods and if this floor plan works and speaks to them, and what about school districts and these kinds of factors. So that emotion starts the transaction. Particularly in multiple offer situations, we see it all the time where a buyer gets caught up in this frenzy of, if I don't sacrifice my first child right now, I'm not going to get the property. So let's sacrifice him. But then logic sets in, and it sets in days later, and that's the whole purpose of this contingency period. The whole purpose of the 17 days where the buyer is drastically protected and they can get inspections and do all of these things. I would say if a buyer is very, very specific about what they know, or very, very specific about what they want, and they want a very specific floor plan, and they want a very specific neighborhood, and they have identified that, then I don't think that there's any problem in going through the listing agent, because they are aware of they've got it already specifically down. If you're beginning, don't go through the listing agent, because it requires so much more due diligence as a buyer. It requires that you yourself, it taints the relationship between agent and buyer significantly, because you always need to be questioning, does this person really have my interests in mind? Are they really working for me? Or are they working for themselves, trying to put together a smooth deal? And I don't think that there's an easy question or an easy answer to that. Certainly, I've probably done it 20 times where I represent buyer and seller, and most of them are smooth, and not all of them are multiple offer situations. There's a demographic that likes to go through the listing agent for whatever.
So is that, in your experience, let's say those 20 times, did that help the buyer? Was it helpful for the buyer to be going through you as the listing agent? That's
a great question. I would say the majority of the time it didn't help the buyer any more than them being represented by another agent. Okay. The commission was the same. I rarely do variable commissions. And had they been represented by another agent, it's not like they got an inside track. And I can only speak about my own personal business, but my buyers and sellers, I don't ask them for their bottom dollar or their top dollar or those numbers, because then if we end up on that number, it appears that maybe I've disclosed that to the other party. So the data speaks for itself oftentimes, and when I meet with a buyer that is interested in one of my listings, we still do the normal, let's look at comps, let's break it down. And there probably has been a couple of times where it was advantageous to the buyer.
But not that often.
But
certainly not a majority.
Certainly not a majority.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 20, I would say 25% it's been advantageous to go through. It's always advantageous to go through me. But no, in terms of dual agency, 75% of the time I would say it's not advantageous.
Okay, that's good information though. That's real information there. So Steve, you're kind of known for this $1 million experience that you have created, and it's basically a philosophy of serving people who are listing their homes for sale, to the extent that you're treating them and their property as though it were a luxury listing. For some people that might not make sense. They might say, well, $1 million, I don't need that. I have a $500,000 house. But explain to us what that is and what you do.
Well, so how it started was when I was a brand new agent. I started in 2005. Everybody's talking about 5-year plan. What's the goal? What do you want to do? So I thought, well, I want to work in the ultra luxury price point. I want to work the $100 million listings, that kind of stuff. And so I shadowed a lot of those agents and saw what they did on big property, Rancho Santa Fe, Del Mar, those neighborhoods where the property average sales price is $5-6 million. And some of the things that I found was the biggest one was staging. I mean, as I talked about before, where residential real estate is bought and sold on emotion, that you can appeal to a lot of that emotional side through some, by staging is probably the biggest, and having a presence online that's very, very strong with professionals and professional photographs and those kinds of things. But the difference is, unlike other agents, is that my goal is to work the $400,000 to $800,000 price point, to be in that, our demographics that are making moves, that are going through life changes of marriage and having children. And I have found that by paying for the staging out of my own pocket up front, there's a couple of strategies and tactics that we can use in order to make sure that we get top dollar, that the property moves quickly, and particularly if let's say our demographic is making a move, that we're moving from a smaller townhome or condo and we're trying to get into a larger detached house, there's the fear of having 2 transactions at the same time, particularly when the market is the way it is. Being able to lock up the sale and know that this transaction is secure, we can negotiate it out because we will have multiple offers, because we'll be able to negotiate a leaseback, whatever it may be. It allows us to be more aggressive on the purchase side. So often what we see is in that move, clients tend to feel like, well, I've got to sell my house under market or my condo under market in order to secure that sale. And then because the terms that I'm writing are contingent, meaning I need to sell the condo in order to buy the house, I have to overpay for the property. So it's a lose-lose. When in actuality, that simply is not the case with the right strategies in place.
So providing the extra service, the staging, the luxury feel to the average home price in San Diego County, essentially what you're doing is you're investing right alongside your homeowners. You're in the same boat, your interests are aligned, and you're providing an additional service that should help them get more out of the process. That's awesome stuff. Steve Ploetz, fantastic job.
Thank you very much.
He is the creator of the $1 Million Experience. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is joining us for the very first time. Please welcome real estate expert from Taylor Realty Group, Lauren Taylor.
There she is. Lauren Taylor, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great to have you here.
Thanks.
Important topic today. Market's going up, homeowners are happy, it makes the city look great, does great things for industry, but unfortunately, our poor VA buyers, are they getting priced out? What should they do? This is what we're going to talk about today. So how do you deal with such a rabid market when you're a VA buyer and your income is not going up as fast as the home prices are? Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely a market-specific issue. I mean, for the last 3 years, we've had a significant amount of growth. As a military spouse, it's something I'm particularly passionate about, to make sure that our VA buyers are getting the homes that they need for their families. I personally think that VA buyers have a great shot in this market right now, but they definitely have to adjust their expectations in terms of the houses that they can afford. This port is different than, Virginia, it's different than Hawaii, it's different in terms of what house and also what type of school district you're going to be able to purchase into. So for me, it's, we can't change the market. We can't change what the listing side is at right now. But what I can do is help my buyers adjust their expectations and then represent them strongly to get the homes that they want.
How do you adjust the expectations? I mean, is it just about saying, listen, you're not going to get as much house as you think, let's focus on location? Or, what is the secret to managing those expectations? I
100% believe in context. So the problem is that when a buyer, any buyer, forget if they're VA or non-VA, if any buyer doesn't have enough context, then they don't really understand what they can afford in this market. So the problem also with VA buyers is that they have a very short timeline to find a house, right? Most people are here for like 10 days. So one of the things that I do to help my clients create context is to provide them with video tours of properties before they even get here. So, they already know, they've seen this, 20 properties prior to this one, knowing that this is probably the best they're going to get in their price point. And also maybe knowing it's not their forever home. They're going to be here for 4 to 8 years, and this is the right choice for them now that's going to meet their needs now.
And so how do you combat that? You mentioned not necessarily a forever home. Sometimes people get PCS different places. What about the VA guys who say, or gals who say, hey, I think it's a better idea to just rent for this 48 years or however long it is, and I don't want to mess with this marketplace, and I don't want to have risk in the market. What do you say to those guys?
Everyone's, my goal as an agent is to give my clients the most information possible so they can make the best decisions for their family. The reality is it's not always the right choice for someone to buy. Sometimes it is the best choice for them to rent. But when you look at it economically in terms of dollar for dollar spent, right? If we're given a BAH, which for civilians is a housing allowance, if you will, and if we use that towards rent, let's look at 3 years over time, $3,000 a month for rent. That's a negative guaranteed loss of $100,000. So if the market, where the market is at, is the deterrent, then I have to ask, is renting really the better option? We're guaranteeing a loss of $100,000 versus, potentially not guaranteeing a loss of $100,000. So to me, it's not really about whether it's the right time to buy in San Diego. It's really about whether the client is in the right position to buy for themselves. Do they have a nice, comfortable cushion? Are they in the position to make those monthly payments? And have they given themselves the timeline necessary to recoup any fluctuations in the market if that happens?
So the way you're looking at renting is basically like it is loss because there's no opportunity for gain? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Sort of like if you own the home, you're paying some principal, you get to write off some interest, so there's something there.
Yeah, there's definitely a tax incentive to owning your property, but you can't deny that writing a $3,000 check to someone else's mortgage isn't a loss. I mean, you're gaining a proper roof over your head. You're gaining a comfortable space to be, and for some people that is absolutely the right choice given their different time frames. But if you have a time frame that allows for adjustments, or if you're comfortable being open to rent your home, if the market isn't exactly where you're at when you move to your next station, then I think the buying definitely needs to be considered. The problem that I have as an agent is that I want to create enough context before they get here so they feel comfortable to make the right decision for them. And so I'll have military families come and they'll say, I'm going to rent for a year and then we're going to buy. Well, I find that as like a challenge. Like, well, if you found the right place for you, would you be open to buying now? And the answer is always yes. Why? Because renting, you lose a year of rent, you lose a year of your time, and ultimately we move every 2 to 3 years. Who wants to move mid-station? So most of my clients who have entered with the, that as their desire, to come here first and then live here for a year and then move, after finding out my system and how I help my military buyers, we find them the houses they want off the bat and save them that money and save them that extra move.
What do you think about the VA loan stigma that I know has been out there in the past? Is it still out there? Is it dissipating? Are people becoming more comfortable with it now? Because my understanding in the past in these hot markets is that the VA offers get put in the bottom of the pile because listing agents are afraid of the VA financing not working out.
I think that is a reflection of old thinking, personally. I am not experiencing that in any sort of way. I have a comprehensive buyer's package that I produce. I'm in a number of spouses groups here in San Diego where that is a lot of the feedback from clients who are working with other agents. And that's concerning to me, mostly because the VA has such a strong financing option that to allow those myths to continue to percolate, whether you're on the listing side or not, is very frustrating because it really is a disservice to our VA buyers. So I just try to educate as much as possible when I'm bringing in my offers, and I'm just not getting that feedback.
Okay, good. That's good. I mean, I'm glad to hear that.
Good for my clients.
Yeah, I think it's good it's good for the country because, our military men and women and their spouses, thank you for your service, by the way, and your husband as well, because I know the spouses are in it, you're in it just the same. I mean, you may not have to travel to a foreign country with a gun, but you have to support someone who does.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. I bet a lot of the time your clients, that's who you're working with. You're working with whoever's home, and maybe someone's gone. And so there's communication that needs to take place. So there's a lot involved there. And it was just really sad for a long period of time. I continued to hear that VA buyers were just having a really hard time getting through.
It's unfortunately the reality of the market. I'm just not experiencing it right now.
Awesome.
So, my husband's Navy right now. We've done 2 deployments with 3 young kids. So, I often thought about which position was harder. His last deployment wasn't extremely intense for him, and he had made a comment to me like, I'm just worried that I'm not going to have enough to do to really be away from the boys and to keep my mind off of it. And I was a little upset. I was like, I'm going to be here. It's going to be hard. We have 2 young kids. We have 3 boys under the age of 5.
Wow.
And he looked at me and said, would you rather have it be hard with the boys for 7 months or be gone from the boys for 7 months? I was like, okay. You win. No, you win. I can never imagine. So I'm grateful that he does that for us.
So you hear the sound of freedom flying over us right now. It's a function of where we are here near Miramar.
I actually timed that.
Yeah. Did you? Did you pay those guys?
I did.
Hey guys, you fly over right when I'm talking about
It's a pretty
this.
penny.
Oh, my goodness. Just a couple $1,000,000.
Yeah. You're welcome.
That's production value, Jade, right there. I tell you. What about your 1,000 Doors program? Tell me about that.
So this year I was honored to work with the Chief Petty Officer Scholarship Fund, and we have a golf tournament this year. It's in June. And one of the primary ways that I felt like I could give back is, I work with a lot of veterans. I would say probably 60% of my business at this point, maybe even 80, is veteran home buyers. So a way that I could give back was actually for every home that I show a military buyer, whether they're active or retired, I'm actually donating $1 to the Chief Petty Officer's Scholarship Fund with the goal of doing 1,000 doors by the end of the year. Right now we're at 232 and we launched it about 6 weeks ago, so it's been a little busy, but it's been going great. And so if we hit our goal at $1,000, then we'll actually double our donations. So year to year, I'd like to continue to grow this, and something the entire Taylor Realty Group is doing. I have a group of 7 agents. Most of us are actually active duty spouses. So yeah, we're excited to participate and excited to create a little bit more support for our military families here.
Yeah, well, we know it's needed. That's for sure. Is there any? I know this is tough to come up with just a broad stroke tip, but is there anything like maybe a neighborhood that is a good value for the schools, or some sort of direction to point someone in if there's a VA buyer out there who has just had a rough go? Is there
Derek, I'm not going to say that live.
Any encouragement?
So I strongly believe that value in this market, sometimes we live in a world of information where information is provided wherever you go. You can go online, a million different answers are going to come out. There's a couple areas in San Diego where I definitely think that there's good value in terms of the resources that are available to home buyers that could definitely fit their needs. So a lot of what I do is actually worked into my Facebook page. I work on educating a lot of people in terms of areas, in terms of off-market listings and things like that. So I would say visit my Facebook page for a lot of those tips.
Okay, that's a
good plug, right?
Perfect. Well done, Lauren.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today, and thank you and your husband so much for your service to this country. I have to tell you, there's been a lot of burning of the American flag going on lately. It's really ticking me off, and I realize it's the First Amendment right for people to want to burn the flag, but it's also my First Amendment right to tell you you're an Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is joining us for the very first time. Please welcome from mysddreamhome.com, Sean Zangane.
There he is. What's up, Sean? How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Great to have you
Thank
here.
you so much for having me on.
Appreciate it. I've been wanting to talk about Del Mar on the show for a long time.
I know, you've been telling me about it. I'm
like,
excited.
Sean, I'm ready to talk
You've
about
set
Del Mar.
the bar high.
So first of all, there's a lot going on in Del Mar. I mean, it's a hot place to be this summer with the fair, the concerts. Tell us all the stuff that's going on.
You know, Del Mar is it's an exciting place in the summer. There's just so much going on from pretty much the first week of June all the way through September. As many of you like or dislike, the fair just started up this week. So we have people coming from all over Southern California to come to San Diego County Fair. We also had, what's really exciting is we're a big equestrian town. So between polo, the races, there's a huge national and international draw to Del Mar when it comes to horse racing. We just had opening day of polo. So we have people bringing premier horses from all over the world. And it's really exciting to see them land here, right here in Del Mar, where you can be driving down Via del Valle and just kind of look to your left and see, multi-million-dollar horses performing at their best.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Concerts are happening too. There's there's some concert that's going on that everyone's talking about.
So
Apparently
at the
has an
end of the
epic lineup.
summer, we kind of finish off the summer. Now we have summer concerts all the way through the Del Mar season at Powerhouse Park, so that thousands of people come down from the hills of Del Mar, and then we all enjoy music right down there in the park. But at the end of the year, there is kind of like the mini Coachella of San Diego. What's brewing is Kaboo, and that starts I believe in September, and it's a pretty action-packed weekend with some very talented people coming in, and it's really drawing a much greater presence to not just Del Mar but San Diego as a whole as a music scene outside of typical LA or maybe a San Francisco. So it's really up the game in San Diego, but more specifically Del Mar. So it's a big draw for people coming in terms of, staying for a weekend here. Business really enjoys it, and the restaurants and the local economy really absorbs up all the business that comes in.
So is all this action and this attention for Del Mar, I mean, is it good for the homeowners of Del Mar? Is it good for real estate values?
Del Mar has always been a draw, and it's always been if you look at what the market has done in Del Mar, prices in Del Mar, it's even a little bit of a discount to its neighboring La Jolla and Rancho Santa Fe. So you can get beachfront property for a lesser price than your brother in La Jolla down the street. And it's really a neat marketplace there. It's easy access, easy in and out, tons of stuff to do. And really the village kind of circulates around all the entertainment. So it's a really nice spot.
Okay, so you think that all the horses and the races and the fair and the concerts, you think that's a good thing for home values and home ownership in Del Mar?
I really think it is. If you look at Del Mar, there are a lot of part-time owners who live in Del Mar. So a lot of times they're either traveling the country or the world or live in another part of the country during the off seasons. As Del Mar has been historically known as a summer rental town, due to the big draw of the horse racing and everything that comes in, especially with the high-end luxury clientele. Someone will fly in, bring in their multi-million-dollar horse, or horse plural, and they'll want a place to stay and they'll want a place to crash for the summer, and they're okay paying top dollar, 10, 20, 50 plus $1,000 a month just to rent a beach property, and it's pretty consistent year over year.
That's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's that kind of marketplace, but I mean, like Del Mar. When I first came to San Diego, it's almost 12 years ago. Del Mar was it was Del Mar. Like if you could live in Del Mar, and I live in Del Mar now.
Sure. If
you could live in Del Mar, that was just that was an amazing thing. It was very rare. It was super luxurious. I wonder now, is it becoming more, because we're starting to see some of these other coastal areas really boom, the Encinitas, Carlsbad, even Oceanside it's nothing compared to Del Mar now, but these coastal areas are really blowing up. Is Del Mar sort of molding into being one of those coastal areas, or is it still sort of its own standalone luxury area?
Del Mar has historically proven to be a quiet beach town, and through all the ruckus that's gone on to the north and south with Encinitas areas and La Jolla really transforming over the last 20 years, Del Mar has kind of kept its integrity, and the residents of Del Mar really value and preserve that as much as possible. You'll see developers come in trying to add new construction and value to the area, and you'll watch that. Nope, Del Mar says we want Del Mar to be quiet and we want it to be what it is. It's cool.
It's really interesting because I've seen, I walk around a lot down there in Stratford Court and stuff, where there's a lot of ocean view homes, and you see what they're doing is they're redeveloping single homes. There's like these single home redevelopments where they're buying a house, and I don't know if they tear it all the way down or if they just tear it down to the studs or what, but then they build up like a 2-story, just sick house. And there's a bunch of those, one single house developments going on over in Del Mar, and I imagine those price points they're taking those homes from being, maybe $1.2 million, $1.3 million to $3 or $4 million.
Every day we see it happen, and a lot of them, Del Mar isn't necessarily a big spec town. People want to build something that they preserve and live in, and a lot of them are a neighbor who will buy a house with just a little bit better view, add the value to it, and that's where they call home. So it's really interesting to see all the development go on there. Like any coastal town, things take time. So a lot of those projects, you'll see them take a year or two to come to development. But yeah, it's amazing to see all the new life that's coming into these detached homes right here along the coast.
Let's talk downside in Del Mar. Is there what's the downside to owning in Del Mar? Are there places to avoid, things that you should look out for if you're going to buy there?
You know, it's pretty hard to put a downside when you're that close to the beach and having entertainment all around you. But there's a couple areas you might see as you cruise over Del Mar Heights Road there. You know, the homes just neighboring that street, you know, they've pretty much forever stayed at the same price. You know, you'll see them turn over quite a bit because someone will move in there thinking, I got the Del Mar address, and then they'll realize, you know, this wasn't the right spot for me. So probably in Del Mar, that's the only place that we see a challenged micro location.
Alongside Del Mar Heights Road.
Correct. Yeah, along Del Mar Heights Road is the only spot we see a challenged marketplace. But the rest of Del Mar, I mean, it's the average median sales price is right around 1.7 million in Del Mar. So you're dealing to a very high-end, tailored, educated consumer. However, if you want to get in cheap, that's the street of dream right there. That's kind of the, if you want to be close to the ocean, that's kind of where people will find themselves.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, on Del Mar Heights Road, if you have a house there, you're going to have an ocean view.
Absolutely.
And it's probably going to be pretty breathtaking. You're going to have a sick pad with a great ocean view. You're just going to have a hard time backing out.
Right.
Of the, you know, because Del Mar Heights is turned into, it's like a highway,
That's the main
man.
thoroughfare, man. They come through there, and cars are cruising pretty fast coming down that hill because they pop over the hill in Del Mar Heights and they see the ocean on a sunny day, and they forget where they are. So it's you definitely see the traffic coming in and out of there, as that is the one of the main arteries going into downtown Del Mar. And I don't think that'll ever change. There's really no way to reconfigure the access there. So you continuously see those homes along that street are the only homes that are kind of pinned down to that price point. But as you see, you get a couple blocks away from Del Mar Heights, and they immediately flourish at a much higher price point.
Definitely. So if you are if you're looking to buy in Del Mar and get a deal, you may have to deal with Del Mar Heights Road.
This is true.
Outside of that, you know, it's a lot of custom homes. You know, the price points can get up pretty high, especially when you get down to like 26, 28 down there.
Sure.
Over by Dog Beach, the little volleyball area there. And it really seems like, you know, the Del Martians, as we call them.
Yep.
I guess I am one of them.
Right, there you go.
The Del Martians are really serious about keeping everything in Del Mar very cool.
Yeah.
They're not going to let anything wild and crazy happen. So I think it's a very stable area.
It is.
I think the only thing to really, in my opinion, what I've seen to avoid is the Del Mar Heights Road, unless you really know what you're getting into and you're cool with the traffic.
Sure.
That's the one sort of area that's a little questionable. But there's a big topic that's floating around amongst the Del Martians right now about vacation rentals.
Very hot topic.
Because that is, and I think vacation rentals and the opportunity to buy a home, a coastal home, and make it a vacation rental is partly what has propagated the coastal prices to be so high, because it makes things pencil at a higher price. And it's a big thing in Del Mar. Del Martians don't like it.
Right.
They don't like the transients.
They're fighting it right now.
They fight it, dude, and they are tough.
As a San Diego city, Del Mar has been doing this for years. I mean, since the Bing Crosby days, I mean, they would come in, rent these houses along the beach, and throw big wild parties after the racetrack season, after a big race, and it's been happening like that for years. I mean, this is nothing new. Well, what's happened is now it's just easier to find them with Airbnb, with VRBO, and people putting their houses there. It's just much easier to find them. But I'll tell you, I've worked in Del Mar for a number of years now, and every day we have someone come in off the street going, "Do you guys have any short-term rentals?" So the demand is definitely there, and you have people, like I said, $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month renting their homes. Well, they use that to go travel, to go do other things, and to visit other cities. So you'll notice a lot of times you'll have very high-end clients who will come into town because they're paying top dollar for a beach city to rent a home in, and you know it's mutually beneficial. The owners are winning, the tenants are winning because they're finding a place they can entertain. Because when they come here, the difference with a hotel stay, they can entertain at this house. When you're bringing a multi-million-dollar horse for the summer to race the horse here, you want to be able to bring people over and entertain. That's part of the panache of having that here in Del Mar. So that's what kind of makes it special. You don't have that really in any other town, and it doesn't have the glitz and glam that Del Mar does. It's a very glitz and glam type attitude throughout the summer because of all the influx of high net worth individuals who come into town. And do you think if the Del Martians are successful in knocking this vacation rental thing down, do you think that'll hurt Del Mar real estate prices? You know, I think it's a long road for them to be successful with that, because you have a lot of individual owners who do capitalize off of this. But I think it'd be interesting to see where that goes. I think you'll start to see a whole new birth of maybe a hidden Airbnb or something where people don't know about it. I think it's going to birth something different. We don't know what that is. So I think it will definitely be a game changer for Del Mar if that does go away, though. I think that's something to keep in mind, and
keep an eye on it.
Yeah, that'll be good news or bad news for the future.
Sean, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate
really
it. Absolutely.
Great stuff.
Thank you.
And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
Our next guest is our community correspondent in Scripps Ranch. Please welcome back to the show, Scripps Ranch resident and real estate expert, Scott Ryan.
There he is, Mr. Scripps Ranch.
Scott Ryan, how are you?
I'm
good, how are you?
Good to see you. It's going to be a hot summer in Scripps Ranch this summer, just like it always is.
It's my favorite time of year out there. You got June gloom at the coast. It's always sunny in Scripps Ranch.
No such thing as June gloom in Scripps Ranch.
No. It's great. It's great. Actually, we got a lot of great community events coming up, and one of my favorite things is the 4th of July parade. I looked at the SRCA website today, and this is actually the 46th annual 4th of July parade.
Wow.
So
Man.
It's awesome. When I first moved there, someone was like, "Yeah, we got our own little parade. Go to this street and put your chair down." And I couldn't believe it. There's floats and there's guys pushing lawnmowers and doing all crazy dancing. You see the mayor of San Diego, so it's a really big event.
That's cool. There's concerts and stuff too.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of good stuff. So also part of the 4th of July, we have the Scripps Ranch Old Pros Run and Ride. So it's a 10K around Lake Miramar, and it finishes at Hoyt Park with a big beer garden. And then they have 3 options on the biking, 12, 28, or 50 if you want to go for a long bike ride. But that's just a great community event. It's probably the biggest event that Scripps Ranch has for the whole year. And the beer's not bad either at the end.
That liquid courage to get some dance moves going.
Yeah. Well, speaking of dance moves, we have the concerts in the park as well. So it's like one more benefit, if you're looking to move to Scripps Ranch, to have that. And that's every Sunday during the summer, once a month, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's once a month. And it's just a great event. What's funny about that event is you get there and the kids are playing, everyone's got their chairs lined up, and the music starts, and there's not so many people dancing, but a little bit of liquid courage sets in, and by the end of the thing, you got all these crazy parents dancing everywhere with their kids, and by the time it's over, they're screaming for more. It's a great event. It's a great event. So.
That's fantastic. I mean, we were talking beforehand about how online there's some talk that the Scripps Ranch market is cool.
Yeah, we're nearing that mid-year part.
Is that any truth to that? Or?
It's funny. I was on Zillow this morning. It said it was a cool market in Scripps Ranch, which really caught me off guard because, I know it's been unseasonably cool weather-wise, but it's starting to heat up. But as far as the real estate market's concerned, things can be any busier. Still multiple offers. I have a client making an offer right now on a $720,000 home. Agent called me this morning. Scott, we got 6 offers. So it's like there's still a lot of buyers out there looking to buy property. Inventories are up a little bit. Year to date on the detached side, we've had 122 closings. On the condo side, we've had 88 closings. Okay. So we're on pace for a good amount of property to be sold. Inventories are slightly up. We have about 77 detached homes currently on the market. I'd say a couple months ago we had, somewhere in the mid-50s. So inventory's up, especially in the higher price points, but we're still, you and I have been talking about this a long time, that entry-level price point is non-existent. The least expensive home on the market right now in Scripps on a detached side is $698,000. So the median price is just going like this, and people are trying to get in.
There's some attached options, for people who can get in at lower price points than that, right?
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people, that's a good way to get into the neighborhood.
Not a bad option. You can definitely find good properties out there that are on the attached side. Again, they can be limited in the number of homes available, but they do come up, and if you can find the right HOA in the right location, be a nice option for you.
Yeah, you can get in, and that's what's cool, I think, about the neighborhood. It's still, now at that price point, there's a tremendous frenzy,
Sure.
going on to get into Scripps Ranch. It's even more so than on the detached side probably. But it's an option for people who don't think, oh, I could never live in Scripps Ranch. I'd love to. The schools, but it's too expensive. Well, look at some of the attached options. They're there. In fact, you've got some listings to talk about today too.
I do. In fact, I just listed a 3-bedroom, 3-bath townhome. It's 1,352 square feet. It's located in the Scripps Townhomes complex, which is closer towards the freeway side, but off of kind of Mira Mesa Boulevard exit over in that direction. So great complex. This is an end unit, 3-story townhome. Comes with a 2-car side-by-side garage. This complex, things sell quickly. I ran the comps for my sellers, and we looked at every property that's sold in the last 6 months. There's been 8 sales in there. Every single property is sold in 5 days or less. So the trouble I'm having is these folks want to buy another property. So the problem isn't going to be for me to sell their condo. I can make that happen, and it's going to happen probably in less than a week. The challenge is, leveraging that equity and getting them into the next property in a competitive environment when they're making an offer on a house where there's 6 offers. So that's why they hired me. They wanted the local expertise. They interviewed several agents, and they really wanted someone that they could trust locally who knows all the agent, has the connections with all the other agents, has some of the inventory, knows the off-market inventory, because that's a whole nother conversation. I really try to leverage and talk to the other agents in town. What do you have coming up? What's next on your docket? Because I love selling my listings, but I want to know what everyone else has coming up so I can help homeowners like this.
Yeah, because in that situation, it's almost like the buy side is where you have to put all your effort.
Yeah.
Because you almost need to be in escrow in something on the buy side before you list the thing, because you're going to have such a frenzy on the sell side.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the catch-22 of this marketplace.
Sure.
It used to be, throw the sign up, then we'll start looking, and we'll kind of work it all out. I think that dynamic's changed, especially in Scripps Ranch, especially at that price point.
Yeah, you have to plan. You have to plan accordingly. So,
so when will that one hit the market? The 3-bed, 3-bath?
We're hoping in the next week it'll be available. So actually went with them, and I'm really starting now. Requests for repairs have been the thorn in my side lately. So I actually have an inspector now that's doing pre-inspections for my listings. I can't stress enough to all homeowners out there, get a pre-inspection done, because these folks thought their place was perfect, and there's definitely a laundry list of things, and they were totally surprised. So we had the pre-inspection done yesterday. They're working on getting some of those repairs done during the course of the next week, and we'll have it on the market,
Well, I
soon.
think that's huge, because whoever pays for the inspection gets to use it as leverage.
Yeah.
If the buyer's paying for it, they get to use it as leverage against
Sure.
the seller. If you're the seller and you pay for it, then the buyer doesn't know about anything by the time they get their inspection done, because you fixed all the stuff that needs to be fixed,
Absolutely.
So I 100% agree on that. What else do you have coming up on the market?
So I have 2 other detached listings. One, unfortunately, is already sold. But this is, I know, it was I wish I could put this house back on the market again and again and again and again, because I'd sell it every single time. Great property. It was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. It was about 2,300 square feet. The great story about this property is twofold. The sellers were on a job reload. They had to go back to Boise. So they came to me and said, Scott, we just bought the house like a year and a half ago. Do you think we can, get out of it? And I looked at it, and they'd done a ton of work on this place. I mean, kitchens, bathrooms, landscape. And a lot of it they did after I met with them, but some of it was already done. And just to go prove the point that if you fix up your home, you can do well, these people got $70,000 above the last market comp for a model match home that's for sale right now down the street. That's original condition. Theirs is fixed up. And I sold their house for $70,000 more. So, and I got it to appraise, which is great. So the last listing I have is in my neighborhood, actually. So if you want to be my neighbor, this is a couple doors down from where I am. This is a 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,100 square foot house. Great property. Great location. You can walk to Jared Beck Elementary, the park, the swim and tennis club. That one's currently priced at $899 to $949. So if you're looking for a larger home, maybe you don't want to live in Stonebridge, or you don't want to live the south side of Pomerado, you want to be more walkable, this would be a nice option. And that's at 12081 Rue des Amis.
And how long do you think a property like that's going to be on the market, Scott? Is that one that'll...
The challenge with this house is they had a fairly large addition. So most of the homes in my neighborhood average between 1,250 square feet up to maybe 1,800, and this is like 31. They did a large addition back in 2006. So the comps don't necessarily support a house of that price point because of what else is for sale or sold in the neighborhood, but the price per square foot makes perfect sense. So the challenge I'm having is if someone's going to spend $900, will they spend $1 million and go maybe the south side of Pomerado or a different part of Scripps like Stonebridge? So people have options once they start getting into that higher price point.
But if
So-
you want the biggest house on the block and you want to be in
Wanna have
Scripps
an what do you
Ranch-
mean? You want to have an awesome neighbor? Come buy
And
this
an awesome
property.
neighbor.
Yeah.
All right, great stuff, Scott. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your time. Really appreciate all the
All right,
advocacy
buddy.
for Scripps
Yeah.
Ranch. Stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else, commercial free.
And now, it's time for Building San Diego. Joining us today is the founder of I Sell the City Real Estate, George Verdugo.
George, what's up,
Derek,
man?
good morning. How you doing?
Thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to Building San Diego. This is where we're telling you about all the stuff that's being built in San Diego. And you guys have, we have a really cool brokerage that we want to talk about today. And you're building in Mission Hills,
We
which
are.
is like, I don't even know, how did you find like a place to build homes in Mission Hills? Are they like tear downs, or were they empty lots, or?
So I think the interesting part about Mission Hills is that you have some small subset neighborhoods, and a lot of the properties that people see in Mission Hills are view properties with lots of square footage with regards to lot size, and not a lot of usable lot normally. Usually you have lots that are, down the side of a canyon or on a hill, and you have these builds that are, houses that are tiered into, split levels. And we were fortunate enough to find a project that is going to be a scrape, but it happens to be on a flat lot that's over 5,000 square feet from street to alley in the walking area of Mission Hills. If you're familiar with some of the restaurants that are down there, Brooklyn Girl and the
Wow.
Patio, and you'll be able to walk to those from this property.
That's awesome.
So we were really excited to find a property with a flat lot to build on.
I just don't know how you found it. I mean, it's just such a, it's such a hard place to find places to build. Mission Hills is, it's not, I don't want to say it's an old neighborhood, but it's one of those neighborhoods where a lot of people transplant from OB or La Mesa, like OB, La Mesa, Mission Hills. You see a lot of people moving around in those different areas. And just not a place where you expect to see new homes being built. But you guys sell a lot of real estate, but you also develop, and this is one of those developments where you guys, did you have the plan to go to Mission Hills? Were you looking there, or were you just trying to find a good deal?
I think that our plan is always to find great deals no matter where they are, but being downtowners and being extremely familiar with the metro area, we're always looking exclusively in downtown, North Park, South Park, Mission Hills. And when we came across this property, we really fell in love with the charm of Mission Hills, the fact that you could have, a family that's looking for a larger luxury home, but still wants to be close to the city. And it's a 5-minute commute from downtown and in a walkable neighborhood. Once we found this property, we immediately started to think bigger, and we started looking around that same neighborhood. And we recently acquired another property that's a 7,000 square foot lot, flat, and we'll be building, the first home will be about 2,600 square feet, and the second home will be 28 to 3,000 square feet. Both of them will have granny flats, so you'll have an income property on the back of, next to the alley above the garage, or you'll have a place for your mother-in-law suite, which works really well for growing families. And I think the appeal, like I said, is having a property in Mission Hills where there's such high density, and allowing you to have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,500 plus square foot property with enough space left for a backyard and a house that you can really grow into.
A new construction.
New construction.
A new house, brand new, all yours. Do you have any ideas on what the price points will be for those two?
Price point's going to be 1.95 to 2.2.
Okay.
In about 12 months.
In about 12 months from now.
And we're working really hard on design and finishes. I think that a lot of the investors out there are very passionate about buying properties and flipping them or building them, and they're mainly concerned about the bottom line. And I'd be lying to you if I say that we are not concerned about the bottom line, because we are an investment company. But we care about the product that we're transferring to the next owner, and we want them to enjoy it 6, 12 months, 5 years down the line. So we've really dove into layout, and what the footprint looks like and what the finishes are like and how livable is the property. And it's something that we really take a lot of pride in. I mean, the name of our investment company is a Neighborhood Improvement Project, and we really like to think that we improve neighborhoods, and we make neighborhoods not only look and feel better, but bring in a new feel, and families that might have, not come into this neighborhood are now, exploring the possibilities of living near the city.
Bringing new great comps.
Exactly.
I mean, the new construction, you just can't beat it, especially in that price range. I mean, a lot of times people in that price range, they're buying stuff that's, 70s, 80s on the coast or whatever it may be, Mission Hills. And I know you guys are down in downtown, and that's a big focus area for you. We've had Jason Cassidy on the show before talking about downtown, who works for your brokerage. And I think that there's, you're seeing a lot of development in downtown right now too.
You are.
A lot of stuff's being built, idea districts going off, idea 1's happening right now. So I think there's probably a lot in the future to talk about as far as Building San Diego is concerned in downtown San Diego. But it's these little one-off, developments that really make a big difference in the neighborhood, because each one of those homes that you're building can have a dramatic impact on surrounding, 6-8 block radius. It's amazing what an impact that can have. And that's what, Building San Diego is all about, is about letting people know that this is what's being built. When you see the construction going on, when you see this happening, this is what's happening. This man here has put his money up and said, all right, we're gonna improve this area, we're gonna build this great house here, and someone's gonna live there and they're gonna be your neighbor. So a lot of people want to know about that stuff.
That's correct. I mean, the market is not only being driven by the large developers, but the infill developers are the ones that are really shaking things up, because they're taking something that other people are unwilling to really, take on as a project and work on it for the length of time that it takes to develop one of these properties, and improving little pockets that at the end of the day are going to turn into, really great opportunities for people to move into.
No question. And if you live in a neighborhood where you've seen like one of those empty lots just sitting there with weeds on it and some old fence or something like that, and it's such an eyesore, and then if you come back 5 years later and you see a beautiful home there, you really see the difference that it makes in a neighborhood. So congratulations on that. That's really cool stuff.
Thank you.
I want to talk about I Sell the City, your brokerage.
So yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
We opened our company about 5 years ago. We started as a city consulting group. We were managing a sizable investment fund. We were flipping a lot of properties. Our experiences in the investment world, we've flipped over 250 properties in the past 4 years, and that market has slowed down quite a bit. And in the interim, we've started to take some of those strategies that we used to help investors maximize their investments, and turned around and applied them to buyers and to sellers, to help them think like an investor. Right? Whenever people are buying and selling real estate, usually they have their list of needs, and a lot of times they're not thinking about the future investment potential of their purchase or sale. And that's where I Sell the City comes in. We have gotten a lot of feedback from our clients. Our clients love our website. Our website has always been isellthecity.com. And people feel like when we represent them on the sale or on the purchase of their property, that once we get past the ABCs of real estate, here's your kitchen, here's your bathroom, this is walnut flooring, these are Calcutta marble countertops, we go out onto the balcony and we start talking about, that's the new Pendry Hotel going up, this was just bought by the Ritz-Carlton, and we start talking about the surroundings, because whether it be downtown San Diego, North Park, South Park, or Encinitas, really you're buying into the culture of the community that you're moving into, the neighborhood. And we don't just sell condos, we sell the city. And that's where I Sell the City was born. In about 30 days, we will be rebranding our company completely. We will be I Sell the City Real Estate. And we're going to be partnering up with a lot of local real estate agents in little communities throughout San Diego, and possibly outside areas. And, really locking elbows with those neighborhood area experts that are going to lead their clients down the right path so that they can make a good investment.
I tell you, you mentioned something there I think is really important for people to pay attention to, which is, in most of these areas, the game plan for what's going to happen for the next 10 or even 15 years has already been put in place in most areas. meaning like what's going to happen, what is the city going to do with this road, what's going to happen with that area, that's going to become commercial zoned, which means they'll probably build this there or whatever. And downtown San Diego is really no different. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, but if you know where to look or you know who to talk to, you can find out what's coming. And that's important for people who are buying in new areas to know, like, what is this going to look like? I mean, how many times have you seen or dealt with someone who, bought in a neighborhood that was nice and quiet, and then all of a sudden a big road got developed, it came right through their front yard, and all of a sudden they're on, they're basically living right off of a highway, and it just changes the whole dynamic of where they live. But if they'd looked, they'd seen that road development had been on the docket for 5 years and was going to happen, for sure. So I think that's when you talk about selling the city, you're not just talking about what it looks like today. If someone plans to be there 10, 15 years, you're talking about what's it going to look like 10, 15 years from now too.
Exactly. And it all comes down to your return on investment, because everybody who's buying real estate, whether it be your second home, your vacation home, or your principal residence, you need to think about it as an investment, because at some point, you will be moving that property, whether it be as an inheritance or as a sale to climb the property ladder or as a downgrade. And knowing what's going on in your surroundings is such an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to buying and selling real estate. And we feel really good about being able to provide that service to our clients, and not just opening the door to the listing, but really diving deep into the important aspects of the community.
I tell you, you said it perfectly. Whether you like it or not, at some point, you can choose to not look at it like an investment, but at some point, you will be looking at it like an investment, because you will be looking at a HUD statement and you'll be looking at how much is coming to you. That's going to happen, or how much you have to pay. You're going to get to that point at some point when you sell this property. So whether you want to look at it like an investment today or you want to wait until later, it's going to be an investment at some point. George, thank you so much for coming on today, man.
Thank you for having me, Derek. I appreciate you.
George from isellthecity.com. Thank you for watching Smarter San Diego TV. Check us out next week, same time, same channel. We'll see you there.
Let's go.
Hey, great show, guys. That's a wrap. Jade, what's your schedule look like? Do you mind breaking down the set?
Not today, Derek. I'd love to, but there's waves out there. I gotta go. Angela? Nikki?
Yeah, I gotta go beat traffic. And I think Nikki's making something up there.
Look at this. We did this. We did all of this.